Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Roland Dupre, and I'm with East Hartford Public Library, Raymond Library. And today's author is Beth Lapin. And we also have another author here, Kirsten Lankford Schiffer. The Beth Lapin has a new book out. It's called A Good Life, Joy Day. And that you can see I've marked it. I will be talking about these pages here. Um, and Beth, can you speak to the book?
Sure, sure. So I've written a few books and was in a writing group. And in 2012, someone mentioned that there was a blogging challenge. And blogging is one of the ways you can get to promote your books and your writing. And it's supposed to be a good thing to do. So I decided I would participate in that challenge in 2012. And it's called the A to Z Blogging Challenge. It happens in the month of April. And every day in April, you pick a theme. And then every day you go through the alphabet and you write about a topic that begins with that letter of the alphabet that relates to your theme. So I chose A Good Life, and I decided to talk about attributes that contributed to a good life. And I went through the alphabet in April. And I had only heard about it the day before it started, so I had nothing prepared. So it was a really interesting challenge that way. The goal, in addition to adding to your blogging repertoire, is to visit other bloggers that are participating in this challenge. And the first year I started, there were probably 2,000 other bloggers doing this. And so every day I would post my blog. I would go visit a certain number of other bloggers and comment on their places, and people would comment on mine. And it was fascinating because people from all over the world were looking at my blog. There were 25 countries, and the way it worked at that time, you could actually see which countries were visiting you and how many times. And this is really awesome. And I made connections with certain people. One woman lives in South Africa, one is in Washington State. But these women have become consistent commenters on my blogs or Facebook contemporaries, and it's been fascinating. There are other people whose blogs I now follow because of it. So that was kind of cool. And the next year came around and I thought, well, I'll continue on the theme of a good life. And I came up with another way of looking at it. So one year it was affirmations for a good life. And again, went through the alphabet. And after a couple of years, I thought, if I do this for 12 years, I'll have 12 months worth of comments that I could put into a book that includes sort of daily inspirational comments. And so this is my 12th year. Excuse me. And so that's how the book came about.
Wow. So that's the organization. I remember you talking about this before, and I didn't realize that it was 12 years that took you 12 years.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Persistence.
That's wild.
Yes. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
And I started putting them together this year in December. So I had one more year to write, and I started working on that. So this year's focus is wisdom for a good life, and it's based on quotes from Socrates. And so I'm still posting them and commenting, and we're going through the alphabet. Today, the 18th was the letter O. So I had a quote from Socrates that had something to do with the letter O, and put that up there and worked on that from there. I've used quotations from songs. I've used all different kinds of, it depends what the topic is. One year I decided to focus on nutrition for a good life. And so each day is a food, and I've researched the nutritional value of that particular item, what it does for me. And usually at the end of each one, I'll have sort of an introspective question that involves the reader, which when you're blogging, it helps get reader response. But as a person reading this book, you also would then participate more and could. Yeah, so that's kind of how it's come about.
Okay, so now I'm getting it a little bit better how this is, well, very much contemporary, okay? I have to say, to me, these are not 12-year-old pieces of advice. These are now. And how you're talking about them is now. And did you edit them at all? Did you change?
Yes, I did. So during the pandemic, I focused on things that you can do in isolation. And it's like, okay, well, I don't really want to, quite do it that way. So I reworked that one to be things you can do independently, whether, and there were a few on that particular year that I had to modify a little because it didn't make sense in a bigger picture.
Yeah, and these little pieces at the end, there's some links that you've included. I guess, is there a Kindle version too, or?
There is an ebook version, and there's also a large print version. So the book is very, I don't know where I can hold it so you can see, but Roland, you can do that. It's handy, it's hand sized, and it's very comfortable. But one of my, so I have a beta reader, and he said, well, can you do it in large print? And I was like, oh, I've never tried that. So I went through that, and it's in order to keep each entry onto one page, I had to go to 8.5 by 11 size on this. So a friend of mine from high school purchased it, and he says, I have a coffee table book. And he sent me a picture of it on his coffee table.
It is one of those kind of books that you can just pick up and say, oh, hey, what? Whoa, you what? It's kind of cool. And yeah.
Go ahead. No,
works as a coffee table book.
Yes. So another part that's interesting is this never occurred to me when I was putting it together, but so your birthday's in here, and so there's a little thing for your birthday. So I was out hiking with a friend this afternoon, and she's a fiber artist. She does mostly quilting type of things, but I said, well, when's your birthday? So I looked it up, May 30th. What's her word? Yarn.
Oh, whoa.
Which is very cool. So
I was going to say, is there a quilting one? I don't know.
No, but there was yarn, and I talk about it as either being a story, like a yarn, or, an actual piece of yarn. So yeah, that was pretty, and there's been a couple of people who have then said, oh, let me see my birthday. And they're like, oh my God, that's perfect. So who knows? I mean,
I did look up my birthday, by the way.
Yes.
I did, and I didn't like it. It was too long because I wanted to read one of the things. So I have March 4th.
Yeah.
4th is change. And this is.
Oh, you don't like that. Okay.
No, that's not my birthday. No. This is one that I do like.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to read because I think it sort of is a sample. If you don't mind me reading it, do you mind?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Be the change that you wish to see in the world. Mahatma Gandhi. Change aspects of yourself that prevent you from bringing the healthiest self to a relationship. Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, wherever you start, you will increase what you bring to the table. We can always learn how to grow up. And then at the end, you have this question, this interactive question. How do we make a change permanent instead of a passing effort?
That's good.
It that, wow, that's a good,
Mhm,
that's a really good thought. That's a really,
mhm.
and and just picking that up and like, oh, wow, we need to think about that. How do we make the change permanent?
Can
Wow.
I
Um,
ask a question, or is it okay?
Yes, oh,
Oh,
please.
okay. Is it like, how's it organized? Did you mix up your 12 years, or you kept them each by, did you mix up the themes or keep them each by year?
so I kept, so, uh, each year that I did it, those 30 or so
Mhm.
items all stayed together, but they were not necessarily in the order, like there wasn't 2012, 13, 14, they weren't in order.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but each time I blogged each year, there was a theme, so they needed to stay together. So the thing that of course is interesting is that there are 26 letters in the alphabet, and there's 30 or 31 days in a month in general. And
Oh,
so what I did was I started using combinations of letters called digraphs that are specific, like TH and SH, they make unique sounds. And
Oh,
so
okay.
WH and TH, SH, PH. So I had enough letters to get me
Oh,
through the
yeah.
months that were longer. So
mm.
that was how I kind of made that happen.
There were two, I think there were two T's in February, though. There was a twice T
Well,
February.
it could be a T or a T and then a
Even a
TH.
TH, okay. Oh, I didn't notice. I'll have to look back.
Because
Oh.
that's a different sound, a th versus a
Ah,
t. So anyway, that was how I came up with a way to make sure that every day had something.
cool.
Um, so one of the things that was really interesting to me in putting this together, which addresses kind of questions that people have about writing and writers, um, is that when I looked at some of the material from previous years, I had no recollection of having written those words. None whatsoever. Now, you could call that like a senior moment, but I also think that sometimes words come to us or through us, and we're writing and it comes. And so it's kind of more like inspiration or whatever. So I have really enjoyed going through these again and seeing what's in there, which makes me feel like, okay, so if I read through this and I kind of follow it through the year, I'm happy to start again next year. This doesn't have to be a 1 year thing. Um, and like you were saying, Roland, you might not follow this all year, but you might open it up and say, oh gosh, I could use a little something. What day is today? And then you pull it open and you say, oh, that works pretty good. Or maybe it doesn't, but it's um, but honestly, I looked at some of them and I said, I wrote this? Wow, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. I've had that feeling before, which you
And
surprise yourself
yes,
afterwards.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I will say my sister has a book similar to that, and she'll conjure a number will pop in her head, and then she'll go to that page in the book. So that's another good way to do it, even if you
Hmm.
don't want to go right by the
Hmm.
day,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
like an
yeah.
oracle book.
Uh-huh. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, also, can you talk to about joy? The word joy is in your book a lot. I marked it, but yeah, because it's Joy Day.
Hmm.
It-
Right.
Tell
So,
about
right. So the idea was that it's not like Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, but it's a joy day, and that every day could be a day that's joyous. Um, and maybe these inspirations would help us get there. So um, trying to find a path to maintain that in each day and uh, keep it with us.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really good thought to have that sort of time too, to reflect, like, oh,
Mhm.
reflect. think about, okay, I'm gonna make
Mhm.
this a joyous day. How am I gonna do that? Yeah.
Mhm.
There's one, I think it's the joy one maybe, that you talk about. Like maybe we shouldn't listen to the news right away in the first thing in the morning, when we get up. Maybe we should think about having something happy happen, right? Is that what you do say that somewhere? I know.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I'm sure I do. I mean, it's something I have said. What day it's on, I don't know, but yeah. And actually, in some ways, that was one of the challenges of having written them in different years. The positive part of that is that there really wasn't a lot of um, repeat in style or wording or something. Like each month is really kind of fresh because there was a whole year between when I wrote each one. But on the other hand, uh, I have some uh, pet peeves or like certain things that are really important to me. And so I noticed when I was putting them together that there were a couple things that came up a little too often. And so I did go back and kind of clean those up. There's still a few in there where I kind of say the same thing in different months, but
Wow.
it
Now,
was interesting.
can you talk a little bit about that? So you're changing all the time each year, and it's new and fresh every year, but you are also recognizing themes in your own life, right? That you come to again and again. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think um, we probably all have those, we all have like a real
Mhm.
core belief that we're going to stick with, and it's really helped us, and we want to make sure that we share that so other people can, consider it as an option. Um, and I have a really strong focus on nature and the environment and connecting with nature, and a number of those repeat in there, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, repetition can help remind us, the thing over and over again. But
No, I enjoyed that. I would never think of that as something to be avoided, but it interests me because I think there's a lot of wisdom that writers bring to their work and share. And here you're talking about wisdom, and these little pieces of thought, little distractions from our normal day-to-day activities are kind of helpful, I think, in that way. And but as a writer, if you're repeating yourself, or if you feel like you're repeating yourself, and is that, may I use this word, deleterious or not?
I think several of them stayed in there, but when I maybe use the same story more than once, or it was like, I can say this in a different way and still get the point across. So that was worth changing.
Mhm.
I had I have quotes from lots of different kinds of people. And I noticed that I was quoting from one person multiple times. I was like, okay, that's too much. I should spread it out a little more. So if you go back and look at the original posts, comparing them to the book, they're not 100% identical, but it's probably 95, 98% exactly how I posted stuff when I first wrote them.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And they're so contemporary. I can't get over that they're old.
Well, it's funny though, because one of my friends opened it up, and that particular month, we're in April, and it was April 6th, and the one in there is eggs. It's about eggs. And my first sentence is that eggs are an economic way to obtain complete protein. He goes, not anymore.
Yeah.
The price of eggs is not economical anymore. You wrote this before. But I think that's one of the rare examples of things that have changed.
But I think also with the links and different things, that's very contemporary. Will that last? Will it go into the
Right,
future?
right. Will those links last forever? I don't know. But in some of them, I wanted to make it clear that this was not just my opinion about the nutritional value of these foods, for example. Or there's there's one here, a section on activities that can contribute towards a good life. And I researched that to see if other people felt that this thing was actually helpful for us. So I put that source down.
Yeah,
Whether they still continue, and that's for June. If that's still Blink still is live, in 10 years, I don't know. But it conveys at least that these are research based or documented somehow. It's not just me
right.
jumping away.
You're not alone. There's somebody who shares your point of view.
And a more authoritative point of, source. So
There you go. Information
Yeah.
sources that you can trust. And
Yes,
information literacy, we all need to know information literacy. And getting back to that.
Right. Right.
I have in October, you have quoted John O'Donohue. Oh my goodness. Oh, one of my favorite poets. And I the eternal echoes. Wow. This is really good. Thank you for having
Right. So October was the month was the year that I had the pandemic activities. And so the quote from him, since Kristen, you haven't seen a book, but it talks
I'd
about
love to
how,
hear it.
well, it's a long paragraph, but it says
Okay.
each one of us is alone in the world. And it takes great courage to meet the full force of your aloneness. And then it goes on. So it talks about being alone. And so, like I said, I focused on independent activities, but I felt like his quote at the time during the pandemic was helpful in our isolation, our ability to isolate. And it's like, okay, we're all really alone. It's just, we usually think we're not, and this feels really uncomfortable and we feel isolated. And okay, here's a different way to look at it. And his writing is always beautiful. So it's gorgeously stated, and it's like, oh yeah, that sounds good, even though it's.
What is his name again? Do you mind telling me the poet?
John O'Donohue.
John
O'Donohue.
Okay.
And whenever he read his own, I mean, he has some YouTube videos with his, oh my gosh, his accent, the Irish accent is so lovely.
I use quotes from him when I do some of my hikes, because he has a wonderful poem about the river and how it just goes down to the source. It doesn't worry about it, and it just, flows. And so I do hikes along the Connecticut River, and I read sections of his poem on that too. So
love that.
Yeah, he has some really wonderful pieces, and he wrote this wonderful book called Aram Cara. Are you familiar with that, Beth?
No.
I don't know that I'm ready really to talk about it. It's such a beautiful book, though. If ARAMCARA, and it means soul friend. And it's a wonderful meditation on, the quality of friendship and what friendship means. And
oh, cool.
It's just a beautiful, beautiful book.
Love it.
Yeah. So yeah, and he says here, if I continue, no longer on the run from your aloneness, your connections with others become real and creative. You no longer need to covertly scrape affirmation from others or from projects outside yourself. This is slow work. It takes years to bring your mind home. Bring our minds home. Right?
Yeah, I think that's what the pandemic uncovered, whether you enjoy the pleasure of your own company type of thing. And I think we do as writers, and you kind of need that space to let things in, right?
Yeah. definitely.
It takes courage, I think, to do that. I have to say, I like being alone. I really enjoy my aloneness a lot, but I do like the connections with people. And writing is that much more demanding of myself that I don't know that I could be alone and write all the time. It would be hard.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, you need a
That's
little
a good,
balance. Everything in
right.
balance.
Everything is balanced, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I've been discovering, I guess, with this book is that when I published it, I sent out I have an email list of people who have purchased previous books, and I have an email list of people that hike, and I sent it out to everybody. And I didn't even look who was on the list, and I've heard back from some people. One person I went to elementary school with, and she lives here in Connecticut, and we actually met at the Durham Library, and we spent 2 hours, 2 wonderful hours catching up. And another one was a woman who went to middle school with me and then went off to a different high school, and I didn't know her from elementary school. And she wrote me an email. She said, I bought your book online and I just love this. And this is my reaction to it. It's giving me an opportunity to reconnect with a lot of people, which is really what a precious gift.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to bring that memory full circle in some ways.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, no, it's very interesting. Uh, I just did it with 3 people today that uh, I I'm using this opportunity to reach out, and I mean they've all sent me emails saying they'd like a book, so I'm taking this opportunity to connect with them. And um, yesterday I met one person, and she got a book, and as she's looking through it, she's like, I'm gonna buy some more books. I'm gonna give them as my Christmas like stocking stuffer. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, are
awesome.
you sure? So she's like, yeah, yeah. Because part of it was because her birthday one was just spot on.
Wow. How cool
So,
is that?
yeah, yeah. It's someone I worked with more than 20 years ago, and we worked together for 3 months, and that was it. And we see each other every once in a while, but yeah, it was really kind of neat.
Don't burn your bridges.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You never know when they become a great connection.
Yes.
I mean, it's like it's very meaningful to have these interactions with these people and catch up with them and find out what they're up to. And it's
Yeah,
very
precious. It's
honoring that they
precious.
want my book and all that stuff. But yeah, it's been really kind of fun.
Yeah. And it's nice that you do that personal connection too. That's
Yeah. I offered it to people who live nearby. I said, if you live nearby, I'm happy to, do that. Otherwise, it's available on Amazon and you can buy it
I
there.
I
But
bought mine on Amazon,
yeah.
even though
So
I don't live near you, but I live
Yeah.
it's
in
okay.
What part are you, where do you do your hikes? Like what part of Connecticut are you
So
in?
they're for the city of Middletown, and
Okay.
the recreation office has me encouraging people to get out into open space in Middletown. So I do a hike every month in a different open space piece in Middletown. And I've been doing it for 9 years now. I just sort of
Whoa.
realized. Yeah.
Now, is this on a Sunday or when are
They're
they?
on either Saturdays or Sundays, depending. I change it through the year because some people can't come on Saturdays and some people can't come on Sundays. And so I switch it out.
Yeah, and it's promoted on Facebook, I think, no? City of
Yeah, so
Middletown.
well, the rec office does different kinds of promotions at this point, but they do promote them on Facebook. And after we go, like this last hike we walked, we saw both a mature and an immature bald eagle and a beaver. And so we had photos, and so they posted the photos afterwards. So people
Was
can get
that the
excited for
beaver
coming.
video that the beaver was eating the tree? No, that was another person that did that.
No, that's just a still photo of the beaver. But it was down along the Connecticut River, down in the Maromas section. And it was, if you remember Sunday morning, it was very misty and kind of rainy. And so there was mist all over the river, and it was really fun. It was nice. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Beth, could you talk about your ecotherapy?
Well, and that's part of it. So when I do these walks, I encourage people to connect more with nature. So sometimes I read something from John O'Donohue, sometimes from Thich Nhat Hanh, sometimes we do walking meditation. And let's see, what did we do this last time? Oh, I read something. So it was my early Earth Day hike. And so I have an Earth Day t-shirt from 1990. I wear it once a year. And I read something from John Muir talking about, the earth and what it's like. And that was good. And then when we got down to the river, we stood there in silence for about a minute or two, just to see what we experienced.
Love that.
Powerful. Just being there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
my degree is in outdoor recreation, so
Oh, well, you get
I
it.
used to lead the hikes too. So we have that in common.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
want
really.
to hike someday. I have
Okay.
to.
Yeah. Well, we have, they're all degrees of difficulty and places. So the July hike that I do is at the Middletown Nature Gardens, which is what they call a pocket park. It's very small. It has a circular path that's probably about a quarter of a mile. And then I send people off to do walking meditation, and we come back together. It's not a difficult hike. We do one in July that's along the Mattabasset River, and it's a paved bike path. And that's a longer hike, but it's very easy to do. And in October, we climb Mount Higbee, which is a ridiculously hard hike. And it takes us hours. So I'm exaggerating, but it's a much more strenuous hike. And it takes more than most of the hikes are an hour and a half. Most of them are an hour and a half. And that one is significantly longer. So I'm going to have a little bit of trouble here because I have company that just walked in.
Oh, cats. Well, it's approaching, we've been here at 35 minutes. It's a long one. If I tell you, it's been pleasure though. Do you want to say anything more? Kirsten, do you have any other questions?
No, I'm gonna find the book though. That's it. Where do I find your blog too? Is that gonna be posted somewhere or?
Well, I have a blog that's just my author blog, but this one is called Beth Lapin's A to Z blog because it's
okay, so you have another one. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I just put my A to Z stuff up there on that one. So it's only active the month of April every year.
And your other one covers more authorly things
and hikes and because I'm doing, for example, the Department of Environmental Protection has an annual hiking challenge called Sky's the Limit. And so I do that and I put it up there because I'm really trying to encourage other people to participate in that.
That's so cool. I love it.
Yeah. The only other thing I might say is just a little brief amount about self-publishing and working through the Amazon self-publishing tool. I find it incredibly easy and useful. I don't know if you've done anything through them, but this is my 3, 4, 5, 6th book I've done through them, I guess. And just the fact that I could do this a different size and that I could do it in large print was very cool. And, I designed the cover myself. It's my photo on there. And it's just very, I think it's pretty user friendly. I did run into one small glitch where, for some reason, they can't post on my detail page, they can put that I have an ebook and that I have this paperback book, but they cannot link it with the large print book.
Hmm.
Hmm.
They don't have
Um,
that as an option.
so what I did was in my description, I said there also is a large print book available, and here's the link.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I've just found it's fairly high quality. It's consistent. They ship my books fairly quickly. I've been quite pleased with it.
I
And
agree. That's how I did all mine. And
Mhm.
like you said, just if anyone's listening to this, there's no barrier to getting your book published anymore, isn't it? It's just
Right,
amazing.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And it can be
And
nice quality, like
Mhm,
you're saying.
mhm.
So,
Right. I actually did a cookbook for our family, and so I did that one both soft cover, and then I tried the hardcover version,
oh,
um, which I had never done before, and it was okay. It was okay.
mhm.
The cover was nice. The inside, it was a little not so clear that it was as nice as a regular hardcover book. Let me put it that way.
Mhm. Right.
But yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
but I found
definitely.
I learned a lot through the process too, and it made me feel a
Mhm.
little more proud of myself that I could do that at my age and figure it out.
Right,
And
right,
so,
right,
like, it may sound daunting to people, but it's really not. And
right,
there's
right.
not any gatekeepers anymore. If you really want to get your work out there,
Mhm,
you
mhm.
can.
Yes.
Although I don't know if libraries can really order if you only do Amazon.
Well,
Is that
it's
correct?
interesting. Yeah, we do. This is a problem. We do
Yeah.
our set sort of way of ordering things, and
Right.
that's a different world. I often say to the local authors, though, you know, sometimes it's better to keep it out of libraries if you're selling it. You don't
Yeah.
want
Well,
people to find
I've
it.
always donated mine to libraries.
Some
I
do.
haven't done it on this one yet, but I've especially when I've given book talks at libraries, I always donate a copy to that library. And those are
Yeah.
all available through interlibrary loan. So
Right. Yeah.
um
And
I think
it's
it's good.
hard though. It's hard for libraries, and it's very rare, I think, that you find a lot of local authors in libraries. And I'm
Mm,
not quite certain what that's about, but yeah, we had at Russell Library in Middletown, we had a section of the catalog
mhm,
that we would
mhm,
say so that we could search for local authors specifically. I don't know if
mhm,
they're continuing that, but yeah, it's a good
mm,
practice so
mhm.
that you have
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
um,
Yeah, no, I would definitely. The first book that I wrote was published by a small press. Um, and just say that the pricing um, was is much better through Amazon.
oh,
And they did no promotion. So when you publish
Right.
yourself, you're doing all the promotion, but in a small press, it's the same thing. So you may as well go ahead and do it yourself.
yeah.
So
And a lot of times I think your market is very niche anyway, isn't it? Or not? What would you think? I don't know.
um, yeah, it's hard to say. It depends what you're writing, I guess. But
And
um,
how does it matter how you market it? I don't know.
well, on this particular book, I thought that uh, a large portion of my market might be the people who have been following this blog. And so I wanted to make sure that this book was ready by the beginning of April when we started blogging again. And
Ah,
then on every post every day at the bottom, I explain that I've been doing this and I made it into a book, and here's the link if you're interested.
that's right. I
Um,
remember I was looking at your blog the other day and I read
mhm.
those.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so that's how I was thinking that, well, who's my audience going to be? Well, maybe some of those people would be interested in, and you can buy it on Amazon and get it anywhere in the world. So,
No,
okay.
I was thinking especially like something like your cookbook, which is a family cookbook, right? And so you
Mhm.
want it to be available to everybody, but it's going to only be those certain people that it
Right,
matters.
right. Yeah. And when I did the family cookbook, You can choose what your markup is. And I make no money when I sell the family cookbook. I don't make any money, but Amazon makes some money when they print it, which is fine.
Yeah, I
But
like this
yeah,
print on demand. I really like that print on demand too.
it's
It
like,
saves resources.
right.
So,
And like Kirsten is saying, it totally changes
mhm,
your
yeah,
outlets, the whole printing. I mean, publishing companies are panicked by the
yeah,
fact that we can do so much on our own now.
right.
It's
And the
it's nothing.
timing's a lot shorter. If you went with the press or something,
Mhm.
agents, you have to wait for so long.
Right,
You
right,
can
right.
do
I
this.
started this in December,
Mhm.
pulling it together and rewriting a few things, and then my beta reader read it in M- March or the end of February or something like that, and it was ready.
Yeah, I
Good.
was impressed. I was impressed at how fast it got out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, guys, thank you. You've been really wonderful, both of you. And talking about writing and publishing is a big part of this. And I think
Mhm.
I'm going to put the whole thing on YouTube if you don't mind.
It's fine with me.
Right.
Okay.